Hey crew, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Bridget. I'm a New York City-based flight attendant, and today we're going to talk about all you need to know to pass your flight attendant face-to-face. So stay tuned. So first things first, if you haven't watched my how to pass your video interview video, it's going to be linked up here. Make sure you check that out before you start watching this video. A lot of the tips that I discussed in that video also apply to the face-to-face interview and will be helpful for you once you start applying. So if you're watching this video, I assume that you have been invited to a face-to-face or you are in the interviewing process of becoming a flight attendant, and just by that, I want to say congratulations. A lot of people apply, but a lot of people also don't make it through the next step. So you've gotten this far, so you definitely should give yourselves a pat on the back. The first thing I want to talk about is something that you should have done prior to even arriving at your face-to-face, and that is researching the company. We spoke about this in the video interview video, but this is something that I want to touch on again because it's very important. You've made it past your video interview, so hopefully you've done the research, but if not, you need to research the airline before you get to your face-to-face interview. You need to make sure your answers align with their company values. You need to be aware of their company values because if they ask you something about them, you don't want to look like a deer caught in headlights. So make sure you research the company that you are applying to and that you are having your face-to-face interview with. So you've researched the company. The next thing you need to do is research interview questions. We spoke on this again in the video interview video that I did. You want to research questions that were asked at face-to-face interviews. That gives you an idea of what type of questions to look out for and helps you be prepared to have stories or experiences that you can give that are true for those situations or questions. You don't want to make up a story. If they ask you a question and you don't have a specific experience that goes in line with that question, you can say, I haven't experienced anything like that, but if I did, I would do so and so. So that shows what your actions would have been if you did experience something like that. And that will come across better than coming up with this elaborate story at the top of your head, and most likely they will know that you're lying. So going in line with interview questions, we touched on this a lot in the video interview video. You need to answer your questions in the STAR method. If at this point you still don't know what the STAR method is and you winged it on your video interview and you got through, congratulations, but you need to go over the STAR method. That I can't stress it enough, honestly. Go over the STAR method, become comfortable with it, practice answering questions in the STAR method so that you are prepared for your video interview. The next thing I want to talk about is kind of a no-brainer, but it's something that is very important and can make or break your face-to-face interview process, which is arriving early to your interview. I cannot stress that enough. If your interview is at 9 o'clock, you should not be arriving at 9 o'clock. I would say 8:30, 8:45. It gives you some time to mingle, sit down, get your nerves together so that you're not rushing. Everyone knows when you are at a face-to-face interview, you are nervous. Everyone around you is nervous. You want to put your best foot forward. So give yourself that buffer that you are not getting there right at the time of your interview. Be there on time, which on time means early. The next thing I want to talk about is your appearance. We touched on this a lot with the video interview, but I just want to briefly speak about this. Typically, when you apply to airlines, they will send you all the information that you need in order to be prepared for your face-to-face, and that includes the dress guidelines. So if they say they would like you to wear a certain color, abide by those rules and don't think that you stepping outside of those guidelines is going to make you stand out anymore or give you any extra points. Because if you think about it, this is a test to see if you can follow rules. Once you become a flight attendant, you have to abide by the uniform guidelines. This isn't time for you to stand out. This is time for you to look uniform. So I have another quick story time about abiding by the guidelines, the dress guidelines. And when I was applying, my airline was about to do a big switch in their uniform. Like I said, they told us that we could wear a certain color or a few colors. They gave us, I think it was blue, black, and gray, if I believe. They specifically said not to wear a specific color. And that color was what our uniforms were going to be. So we all showed up, and one individual that I remember vividly came in that color that they specifically said not to wear. And I was just thinking, like, maybe she didn't get the guidelines, but in conversation with other people, she stated that she wore it because she wanted to stand out. That is something that you do not want to do. That will not get you extra points. If anything, they'll remember you, but they'll remember you for the wrong reason. Going in line with dress guidelines, a big tip for you is do not compare yourself to other people that are there. Do not stress yourself or work yourself up like, oh my gosh, I should have wore a dress, or oh my gosh, I should have wore a suit. Be confident in what you have on and what you have going on. Don't worry about anyone else. That's not what you're there for. You're there to secure yourself a job, and you're not there to compare yourself to anyone else. Now, for some of you, going to a face-to-face interview may be your first experience in the airline industry interviewing in this process. So I want to give a brief outline of how it works. I've been to a few face-to-face interviews for mainline and regional carriers. Regional was more of a group setting. If I remember, they made us answer questions in groups. I don't particularly remember doing a one-on-one interview, but that was about 6 years ago, so things have changed. Comment down below if you're a regional flight attendant, how your interviewing process, your face-to-face interviewing process was, and let me know if anything has changed, if anything has been added. Now, on the side of mainline, the face-to-face interviews that I've been to did differ. It started off with an introduction where they spoke about the company again. They told you the benefits, they told you the pay, the bases, the basic things that you would need to know. And then it moved on to a group exercise or an activity. Some make you do a reach test to make sure that you're tall enough to work on the plane. Some make you sit in a jump seat and buckle yourself in to make sure that you can safely and securely buckle yourself into a jump seat. That's pretty much it for those type of activities. But then you may do social time where you can go around and speak to different flight attendants, speak to different recruiters, introduce yourself to people. One thing that I do want to stress in that time, the social hour or the social minute, whatever they consider it, do not come across robotic. You don't need to speak to every single person you see in the interview or in that period, because it comes off artificial or fake. You don't want to be like, hi, my name is so-and-so. Hi, my name is so-and-so. Hi, my name is so-and-so. Yes, you want to appear open and sociable, but you don't want to come off as over sociable, if that's even a word. Speak to people, but you don't need to speak to everyone in the room and say the same thing. So once you do that social segment, some airlines have group interviews and some airlines have one-on-one interviews. Just make sure that you are confident and you are ready to answer the questions. Another pro tip that I want to share with you guys is when you're speaking or when you're around people, you want to be smiling. You want to show that you're happy, that you're positive. You don't want to have a straight face. You don't want to have a serious face, but also don't have your smile on 100 24/7. When you're talking, you smile. When you're greeting people, so it shows that you're friendly and open, and that's attributes that they want to see in you, because that's attributes that they want in their flight attendant. So I want to talk about the group exercises and what you need to be aware of and ready for when you are a part of these group exercises. One thing you need to remember is that this whole face-to-face interview, from the time you step in that door to the time you are leaving, you are being watched. They are watching your every move. They want to see how you interact with people. They want to see how you interact in difficult situations. They want to see how you interact with unknown situations. So in the group interview, they have you do an exercise with a few other interviewees, and you don't want to be that person who is trying to have all the attention on them. You want to show that you're a team player. You can take initiative and be a leader in some sort of trying to figure out what the exercise entails, but you want to include everyone. So in my last face-to-face interview, there was a portion where we sat down with a flight attendant, and she basically asked us a few questions about what we were willing to sacrifice or change in our lives in order to get this position. And one of the questions was along the lines of, are you open, to moving to a different state once you find your base and you've finished training and everything? And this is a moment where you need to remember what you signed up for. When you applied and filled out that online application, they asked you, are you flexible? Are you willing and able to move to a different city? Are you willing and able to work nights, weekends, holidays? And you clicked yes. So in this moment, you need to remember that answer and you need to say yes. In my face-to-face interview, the same individual who came in the color that we were not supposed to wear, she blatantly said no, she was not interested in moving states or having to commute because she likes where she lives. That's something that they don't want to hear. That's something that you do not want to say. Remember this. Do not say that. If they ask you, are you willing to move? You say yes. Even if you aren't going to move, if you're going to commute, you still say yes. Are you willing to work nights, weekends, odd hours, holidays? Yes, you say it with a smile. So my last tip for you is that you may not get the job offer at the interview. I don't want you to be discouraged. I don't want you to have a bad attitude, because everything doesn't happen instantly and it's okay. Keep trying until you get that yes. All right, you guys, that's all my tips for how to ace your flight attendant face-to-face. I hope this was helpful and informative for you. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on Instagram. You can email me. I'll make sure that all my contact information is in the description box below. And I hope to see all of you in the friendly skies soon. Thanks for watching and see you in my next video.